It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now.
As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity.
Parties are convening this morning to get a jury seated in the federal sex trafficking trial for Sean Diddy Combs. They are going to be sworn in on Monday. There's a pool of 45 potential jurors, 50 that the court were able to identify, that the prosecution and the defense are going to be exercising their strikes to get that number down to 18, which includes 6 alternates. But there's this visible undertone for the case, and it's the effect that race could play during the Sean Diddy Combs' trial, including the makeup of the prosecutors, not just the jury. And it's a topic that famed attorney Mark Geragos, who we just saw when we talked about the Menendez family, his daughter is on Diddy's defense team, Tenny Geragos. And Mark, on a podcast with Harvey Levin, Two Angry Men, had this to say.
So 6 women, all white. All white.
Correct. That's my understanding. I've only seen a couple of them, or know of a couple of them, but my understanding is you got a 6-pack of white women.
That's not coincidental.
But I'm not so sure that the defense is going to center so much on the race. That may be an undercurrent, as it always is. I'm the first to tell you that based on doing this, going into my 5th decade in the criminal justice system, that race underscores everything in the criminal justice system.
That's what Johnny Cochran said.
So you heard there the comments that actually really raised the ire of the prosecution in this case. They asked the judge for an admonishment over it, and the judge did tell Geragos to further exercise caution. This was back in February, though, what we're looking at in terms of what the defense has filed. So that comment about 6-pack of white women on the prosecution team, something that the judge said was outrageous, was not happy about. But let's take a look at how race might impact Diddy's trial, because this is a defense filing from February where they said this case is unprecedented in many ways, and perhaps most notably and most disturbingly, no white person has ever been the target of a remotely similar prosecution. Sean Combs is an extraordinarily successful artist, businessman, philanthropist, and one of the most accomplished black people in this country. And that motion to dismiss goes on to say that Mr. Combs has been singled out because he's a powerful black man, and he's being prosecuted for conduct that regularly goes unpunished. Count 3 in the indictment should be dismissed because this case is clearly selective prosecution. So as we inch closer to finalizing a jury, it's happening today in New York. We're wondering how much is race going to impact Diddy's trial? And to talk about this, let's bring back in law enforcement expert Sonny Slaughter. And joining us now, jury consultant and human behavior expert Susan Constantine with us as well. Susan, let me start with you. Do you believe that race is going to play a factor when they are picking a jury? That's going on now. How much do attorneys consider race when they are looking at a case similar to this one?
Well, they do. In fact, when I began my career with working with JuryQuest, out of the 7 demographic factors, race was one of the big ones. So if you remove race out of it, it would skew actually the point system in which I used in profiling a juror. So adding race into it, especially a black juror, would actually sway more towards the defense. So the defense always is looking for often black or minorities within their jury pool. So it really can. But keep in mind, as a really ethical trial consultant, we have to have a blend, right? So we don't want to play into the racial bias. We don't even want to play that game. We want to keep the jury more neutral. But unfortunately, the game plan is to stack it in their favor. And that is what I personally have an ethical issue with. When you're talking about 7 white, prosecution pack.
Mm-hmm. And Sonny, let's talk about that because, well, we'll talk about the prosecutors in a moment. I want to talk about the issue that the defense put in their motion to dismiss. Mark Geragos saying, hey, I don't believe that it's going to be front and center in the trial. It may be an undercurrent. He is not on the defense team. He's connected to his daughter, who is on the defense team. But do you think it should be an overarching theme? Should we get opening statements in front of a jury and have them say he is being unfairly treated because of his race?
Julia, I think we should get the statement in front of there, but is he truly being unfairly treated? When you think about the extensiveness of the actual crimes and who the victims are, is he being unfairly treated, or does this case meet the measure of the law? This case was investigated by Homeland Security Investigations. Homeland Security Investigations are the top law enforcement investigators specifically on human trafficking cases. They have investigated this case. I know they have done it over an extensive period of time and the information that they have. So if the defense thinks that they have some game with what the law enforcement has done in this case, I say game on, bring it to the forefront, let's have it out. The prosecution team is the prosecution team. They are highly skilled. This is not their first rodeo on this, and let's make it do what it do and stop getting sidetracked by race, because this is an issue of SA and what happened to the victims.
And Susan, I know you can speak to the fact that if attorneys are caught trying to get rid of all but one race on their jury, they could face a challenge. Let me, though, show you one of the demographics that we know of a potential juror who is in that pool, who may be on the panel. They don't tell us the race of these jurors, but from the conversation they had with the court, here's some details on one. He's a male in his 30s, in a historically black fraternity, listens to rap and R&B music. That's something all of these jurors were asked about, their music preference. And he said he did retweet a meme about Diddy since the allegations happened. Let's start with that one, Susan, and just tell me if he's someone, if you're the defense, that you do want on your jury, even though he did retweet there something about the Diddy allegations. So I'm not thinking there are any memes out there that are actually pro-Diddy that I've seen.
Well, on the surface of it, yes, for the defense, but that's not everything. Just demographics are not the number one element that we look for. We're looking about behavior. We're looking for attitude. And what I would be doing, now this is a juror they're considering as a defense juror, okay, or maybe the state to strike them. I would be looking at all of their posts, right? What are they posting? Who are they hanging out with? What are the photos that they're posting? What is the story they're actually telling? So that will give you a little bit different insight into their values, their belief systems, their lifestyle, etc. And this case is all about lifestyle changes and that alternative lifestyle. So if I were on the defense, I'd be looking for those alternative lifestyle persons. On the state, I'd be looking for more of those conservatives.
I want to go back to that screen we were just showing, Sonny, so we can talk about a second potential juror we pulled out. This is a woman who's in a historically black sorority, listens to contemporary Christian music and R&B. She watches CNN for her news, and she's a teacher. We heard those comments by Mark Geragos talking about the racial demographic of the prosecutors, but they are also all women. Do you think that the prosecution should be considering that when they are picking their jury in terms of a woman being on the jury and listening to the details that we're going to hear from these victims who are going to be on the stand, alleged victims?
I think they should absolutely be thinking about women of color. This case has divided so many people based on race, but I think it is important to have a large number of women on this trial, but we also have male victims. So those women need to have views that focus on victimization, not just gender, and how it impacts them. I think we should consider all of the factors. And I think having a large number of women, having women of color, not just Black, African American, but other minorities, to have a diverse jury pool. We want a jury of our pool, of our peers, but what type of jury does Sean Diddy Combs have? Do we want people that will let him go just because they look a particular way or because they listen to his music? I've listened to Sean Diddy Combs' music. Am I a person that you want on the jury? Maybe, maybe not, because you want somebody that can have unbiased opinions.
Susan, is age more of a factor that we should consider when looking at this case? Here's another potential juror that is 71 years old, works for an African-American dance company, listens to classical music, and told the court they were initially unsure about discussing sexual topics with strangers in deliberations, but after more questions, did tell the court that they could be fair, they could handle it. When you're hearing those details, and I noted what you said about the alternative lifestyle, that's certainly going to be something the defense is going to be arguing. These freak-off parties, this is just part of his celebrity lifestyle. Don't hate him because you ain't him type of argument. What do you think about age being a factor in these attorneys picking their jury?
Absolutely, age is going to be a part of it because it's what they were brought up with. So at 71 years old, this person was not raised, or really probably turns on, the rap music. Probably can't relate to it. So in essence, when we think about it, if you're looking for a fair and impartial jury, that person may say, hey, I can set aside my own upbringing, look at the facts and the evidence of the case, and make a decision. But however, that 71-year-old is not going to be able to be unbiased when it comes to these lifestyle choices. It might be appalled by it. So I'd be looking for those jurors that might or show any sort of disgust or disdain regarding that lifestyle. So the older ones are probably not the best for Diddy. I'd stay with those younger and middle-aged individuals, male or female.
Oh, we certainly appreciate your insight on that, Susan Constantine. Thank you for being with us.